See this crazy bunch of words and circles and numbers? It's the mind map that I created for Mrs. Keller, one of my all-time favorite people. Now, before I started mapping this out, I thought I really wouldn't have much to say about her husband, Mr. Keller, because he's a very quiet man. I just remember him being really tall and he really couldn't hear very well because he was losing his hearing. I used to write him notes. So once I pictured him sitting in his favorite chair, then I started getting all kinds of ideas. I also filled up the entire page with the rest of Mrs. Keller. I really miss her. This is the power of mind mapping a topic, which is the third writer's trick in a series of writer's tricks. That's our topic for today. Hey there, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Welcome to Teach to Write for Middle School. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Kathy Harsh, writing coach and middle school writing teacher. I help you middle school ELA teachers with teaching the proven writing tips, tricks, and strategies that I found over the years so that you can help your students improve their writing skills and save yourself a lot of time and frustration. I believe we should call our students writers and give them the voice, choice, and time to develop their literacy skills. Before we get started, I wanted to invite you to pick up the free teacher guide PDF that contains the lesson plans, digital and printable student worksheets for all the 5 tricks by going to the link in the description box down below, teachtowrite.com/5tricks. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please let me know in the comments down below. Today, we're taking a deeper dive into trick number 3, mind mapping. Mind mapping takes some practice, but it's one of my personal favorites. It really helps me to open up my mind to possibilities, and I have notebooks filled with mind maps and other scribblings. So let's get into mind mapping. As before, I've talked about how these 5 tricks work best, and what I've tried to do with each of these things, like the mini lessons, sharing, and all that, is kind of give you a little bit more nuggets of information with each time I go through it. But basically, I just want to remind you that these are the ways in which the 5 tricks work best. So with mini lessons and sharing with mind mapping, you want to give them more than just 30 seconds to a minute to mind map. It takes longer than that. It takes about, I would give them probably about 2 to 3 minutes at first, and then they share, and then another 2 to 3 minutes. Sometimes they'll need longer than that. Okay, just to let you know, this one does take longer than the others. And the goal is to fill up the whole page of their writing, that whole page that they have in their journals with their mind map. Practice a lot. Obviously, this is something they really do need to practice with, because at first it's going to be slow going, because they have to get used to asking themselves questions and digging deeper to get those details, because this is much more detail oriented and trying to get at those deeper details. Begin with an end in mind. So what are they going to do with this mind map afterwards? What type of writing do you want them to do? Of course, always let them know what that is. And then conferring with your writers often. With this, I look at their mind maps, and if they're not very detailed or they have things that are missing, I will talk to them about it and talk them through it, and we broaden their mind map so that they'll have a lot more to write about. And by teaching them one-on-one like that, sometimes kids need that one-on-one help, and that's where you can do it, is in the conference. Okay, so for mind mapping, students are going to pick a topic from a list that they made. Let's say the positive negative list that I did last time. Or it could be a list of places, it could be a list of people. It doesn't matter, but they pick a topic from a list that they've made. And then students ask questions. That's why the question asking is so important. To start off with, they ask those questions about their topic and then write the details around their topic. Now, what is also really helpful, and this is why I do kind of 2 rounds of mind mapping, is the first round is sort of like your broader details, and then to get into those nitty-gritty details, I use word lists like sensory words or action verbs. I will give them, I actually have sensory word lists, and I will talk to you about that later.
in the video about where you can find those, but I actually also have a blog post about describing and teaching description. So that can also be helpful. But I just give them word lists or action verb lists and then have them go from there. How many details can you list in 2 minutes? So this is what you would ask the students. How many details can you list around that topic in 2 minutes? I'm going to show you what mind mapping looks like in case you're unfamiliar with it. And then share your details with a partner. And then how many more details can you list in 2 minutes? So it's a little bit longer than the 30 minutes or the minute or whatever. It's a couple more minutes. Okay, you can even make it longer than that. You can make it 3 to 5 minutes, whatever fits with your students and how quickly they work. And then they share their new details with a partner. And this can kind of help them think up new things that they could say about their details. The more that they have to start off with, the better it is when they go to write. And then you're going to demonstrate to your students how to choose and organize those details. That'll be in the video that I show you in a moment. And then based on their mind map, they write a paragraph. So let's get back to what they start with at first, which is the topic in the center. I started with listing memories and chose one of those from that, Holly's Sleepovers. So I wrote that in the center, and then from there you'll see I have little stems that'll come off like that. You're almost kind of like starts off like a sun in a way, where these little things coming off, and then it kind of ends up looking like a web. And that's what some teachers call this, a web, clustering. There's all kinds of different names for it, brainstorming. I used to call this brainstorming all the time, and then I realized most of the world is calling it mind mapping. So I changed my thought processes over and started calling it mind mapping, which is exactly what it is. What's so great about mind mapping is that as you think of ideas, you jot them down quickly. And as you can see, you don't write full sentences, you just write details. So with Holly's Sleepover, okay, what's there? What's at her house? There's a ranch, it's a ranch house, and then I thought to myself, what does that look like? It's U-shaped, it has a pool, it's rectangular, the pool is rectangular, has a deep end, 10 to 12 feet. And then I went on to talk about the horses, the Morgan Sugar that looked like Black Beauty that I really liked, but I couldn't pet it because it might bite. And then there was also an Appaloosa that was a tall horse that I tried to ride, but it didn't work out. And then other animals she had were like guinea pigs and Duke the shepherd, and there was a guinea hen, which I never knew about. We used to have sleepovers with the sleeping bags on the floor. Tons of friends, tons of girls were over there. It was a huge room. Her sister's room was huge, as you can see up in the top, about 1 o'clock area of the page. And then, of course, right around 3 o'clock is where I've written starting a magazine for animals and info about animals, typing at the house. We also had a Halloween haunted house. So as you can see, wherever you have space, you kind of open it up for a new line of details. Now what I'm doing here is writing down numbers for how I would like these details to go. And originally I had narrated this, but it ended up being 10 minutes long, way too long. So that's why I sped up the video, and I like double sped it up. It's like 4 times the amount, and then narrated over it like this. So what students would do is they would start with number 1, and then that's what they would write a sentence about, and then they go on to 2 and write sentences about that, and then they go on to number 3. And I like this numbering off of things because that helps to give them a direction, a roadmap, where to go from each direction. So that's mind mapping. Now that you know how mind mapping works, what are some lessons you could add this trick to? You could have them analyze using this, because that's what it is. It's an analysis tool. So you could have them do the topic in the center and things that they learned about the characters all around or about the story. You could have them write a poem about something, some topic. You could have them describe a place. I have used this before where I take students outside. I tell them to list down details about what they see outside, and then we come back inside and do a mind map, and then they write about it. So there's all kinds of different things that you can do with mind mapping. I usually combine this with listing and asking questions, so that's why I have those as my first 2 tricks and this as the 3rd trick. But all of them work together really super well. For more lesson ideas about mind mapping, visit my blog at teach2write.com, and you can find this under Writer Strategy Mind Mapping.
To get that 5 Tricks Teacher Guide PDF that I mentioned in the video, the link is in the description box below. It's filled with implementation ideas, the links to these videos so you can refer to them, the digital and printable student worksheets, and places for you to write down notes as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back next Monday with trick number 4, writing sprints. Writing sprints help you chunk the writer's time and give students little breaks throughout the period to share and reflect, or just relax for a moment so they can power through their writing. So you don't want to miss out on that. For more tips and tricks, click on this video over here to watch the introductory video to the 5 tricks. Bye for now, and happy writing.